Hi everyone, and welcome to all of the renegades and all of those who are about to fall down the rabbit hole. So for those who don't know about Ren, he's a Welsh artist, a singer, songwriter, producer, everything. Very interesting. He talks a lot about his life and his sufferings in his lyrics, which make him very relatable. And so go and check out his channels and his socials if you don't know about him. And for those who already know, well, you know how deep that rabbit hole is. So today I'm going to do a deep dive into the Seven Sins video to try to decipher the lyrics and the meanings and just see what we can analyze from the song. So for those who want to hear the entire song, just go to Ren Makes Music and watch the Seven Sins video, because I'm going to pause quite a lot. There is so much to say about those lyrics, and so don't be mad if I pause. The intent of this video is to deep dive. So yep, let's go. So straight from the beginning, it's going to sound a bit strange to some people, because if you don't know Welsh, then that's the language that's spoken here. It says, "Illness is my teacher. My smile broke, my bones feel old. Here lies the body of Ren." So I think straight from the beginning of the song, we know what it's going to be about. We know he's going to talk about the battle he has between his illness and his demise, and how he's going to cope, or how he coped with that throughout those times. So I think it's saying illness is my teacher also alludes to the fact that there is a learning curve in this situation, and that it is not only negative, but that maybe something constructive can come out of it. So yeah, let's go further. And if I look down a lot, it's because there is so much to say. I had to take some notes, so that's why I'm looking down at my notes too.
I lay broken on the kitchen floor. I clawed at the laminate. Pain wandered my body, an uninvited guest. Bones of a home where the devil could rest.
So, sorry for my cat. So he's talking about, he says, I lay on the broken on the kitchen floor and clawed at the laminate. That is something that we have already heard him say in one of his chapter videos. So if you don't know about the chapters, I really would ask you to go and check out on his Ren Makes Stuff account. So on that account, you can find different content and like some of the Twitch streams too. And so he made 8 videos called The Chapters, where he really discusses his life. He just talks about what he went through, all the hardships and the different events in his life, and how they shaped him. So he does talk about this situation, which was at a moment where his psychosis was really bad, and he literally ended up on the kitchen floor in his mom's home, clawing at the floor and just begging for the pain to stop. So that is what he's talking about here.
Bones of a home where the devil could rest. I cursed the gods, cursed my messiah, cursed my maker. I cursed all of creation. There I lay, feeble and thin. Sick boy, 7 my sin.
So he curses the gods and the Messiah. I think that when you're in that amount of pain, may it be physical or psychological, you're probably going to get to a point where you just can't believe in anything anymore, and that you're just rejecting all of your faith and your beliefs. So it's probably the point where he got to, where he thought that there is no force that is helping him to get through this. And I think it's when we are confronted in very extreme situations within ourselves that we really are on the verge of losing faith or discarding our beliefs. And also, if you noticed, sick boy here is written B-O-Y, which is the normal way to write boy, but as we know, Sick Boy is also a song by Ren that he has written in the past few years, and he writes it B-O-I. So I think maybe in the video it's written B-O-Y because it was at the beginning of his journey, of his story with this illness, where maybe he hadn't written Sick Boy yet. And so it's first written B-O-Y because he was just a sick boy, but he wasn't the sick boy that we know with B-O-I right now. So maybe that is, maybe that's the thing there with the lyrics. So let's go back a bit.
Gods cursed my messiah, cursed my maker. I cursed all of creation. There I lay, feeble and thin. Sick boy, 7 my sin. Have you ever felt pain? Stomach wrenching, unrelenting. Tell me, have you ever felt pain? Condescending, muscles clenching. Tell me, have you ever felt pain? A rose emerges from the pavement crack.
So I think that the pause there is intentional when he says, have you ever felt pain? Because he is talking about the pain he is experiencing, like he literally explains how it feels physically. And so he's asking again and again, have you ever felt pain? And the last line is, have you ever felt? And then there's a pause. So I think it's quite intentional to make us think about, have we ever felt anything at all? Because I also think that for people who are experiencing these types of illnesses and this amount of pain, it's also like this it's so huge that maybe you can only think that people who are not experiencing it don't really know what pain feels like. So he's asking, have you ever felt anything? Because maybe for the people who don't know how it feels like, there's a disconnect between the amount of suffering he has and what normal people or healthy people go through. So it's like feeling anything, feeling emotion, but in the end, it's still pain that he feels. So, yep, let's go back again.
Sending muscles clenching. Tell me, have you ever felt pain? A rose emerges from the pavement cracks. They'll write my eulogy with broken glass. Eternal parallax. Hey.
So here, it's a direct, a rose emerges from the pavement cracks. I think it's a direct reference to Tupac Shakur, who wrote a poem called The Rose That Grew from Concrete, which is about resilience, and the rose symbolizing the resilience that even something really beautiful can come from something really harsh or broken. And then he says, writing the eulogy with broken glass, it would mean that I think that the people who would write his eulogy would feel deep, deep pain. They would be cut by the glass of doing this, and just have terrible scars of the lasting after the situation. And I remember he also talked about in one of his chapters, he's talking about how one day when he was in this, when he was deeply in his illness, he was walking alone a night in an alleyway, and he came across an old TV that was discarded in the alley. And he can't really explain what went through his mind, but he decided at first, because he was just angry, he decided to break the TV and to just shatter it to pieces. And then obviously, because, you know, the screen's made of glass, there were shards of glass everywhere. And so he picked up the largest shard that he could find, and he carved it in his chest, and he you know, drew it across his chest. And he explains that somehow it didn't really make him feel worse or better. It was just something that he could, a moment where he could feel something different that wasn't the pain that was inside his body, and that there was also some kind of beauty in this situation. So I think that maybe it's also the truth of that and the beauty of that can come out of this, of his demise, and that it would be maybe one time where his family and friends could, you know, really relate to the intense pain of what he is going through, because I think it's so difficult to convey how you're feeling inside and the pain that you can experience when you're sick, because people can only see how you look, and but they can never really feel what you're feeling. So it's very difficult to relate to that for most people that are around you when you're sick. And so the parallax, for those who don't know what a parallax is, it's the fact of depending on the vantage point you have of an object or an event, you see it differently. So this is used in astronomy and in photography too. Here he is using it as an analogy of depending on your view of a situation, you can see it either in a positive or a negative light, or you can have you know, different emotions about the event depending on your vantage point of the situation. So probably if we are, you know, taking his passing as the focal point, everyone would experience his death in a different way. And yeah, so that's the eternal parallax, the coexistence between the beauty and the pain, between the rose and the glass, and the experience of the hardship also strengthens a person and leads to resilience. So that would be, you know, the double meaning in this. So let's go back a bit.
A rose emerges from the pavement cracks. I'll write my eulogy with broken glass. Eternal parallax.
Pain.
Pain the author, I accept this. Pain the teacher, bruised apprentice. Pain was this thing, pain will come. Pain the mother, I'm the son. Pain that splits you, and too many hits you. The dark and the light will converge to one. Pain that twists you, the heavens dismiss you. The Father, the Ghost, and the Holy Son. Body bags.
So here he's talking about what that pain is, or how he identifies that pain and what it embodies. And if you take the pain as being the author, the teacher, the mother, it's not only an emotional experience for him or a physical experience to have that pain, but it's also a shaping force in his life, that would imply it also has purpose, because everything that is a shaping force in your life would shapes you to be someone or to lead you somewhere. So that would mean that the pain does have purpose, an underlying purpose, and so the outcome being maybe growth and understanding. And I think there's a double entendre in the fact that the pain, when he says pain the mother, I'm the son, also because he was living at his mother's house when he was very, very sick. So there was probably it was probably a situation where his mother felt the intense pain of having her son in this situation, and so it also, his pain also makes his mother suffer too in a different kind of way. And so yeah, it also shows that pain is not inherently an evil force. It does allow for enlightenment as much as it does despair, I think. And whatever the amount of pain he does feel, he still feels dismissed and ignored by God, because maybe he's trying to grasp at some faith that he has, and he's starting to lose faith, because it's just an ongoing situation where he can't come out of. And so when he says the dark and the light converge to one, it's like there's nothing to cling to, because when you think about sayings like seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, or healing light, if it intertwines with the darkness, then there's no issue to the pain, and there's no hope to cling to if everything gets converged into one. So I think that's also the what he's alluding to here. And when he says the Father, the Ghost, and the Holy Son, that's a direct reference to the scriptures. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The Holy Trinity is twisted here. Maybe it's I would say because he was talking about pain the mother before, maybe referencing his mother. Here he could be referencing his father directly too, and how they interact together. So maybe the situation he's living at his mother's house with his mother is this pain they're experiencing together in different ways, and just this vivid experience of the illness. And here maybe it's a representation of his father. And when he says the Father, the Ghost, and the Holy Son, he probably did feel like only a shell at some point. He talked a lot about having the feeling he lost his personality, and he lost he lost meaning, and he lost himself in this situation, especially with the psychosis too. So maybe he's only the ghost of himself at that point. So he would be the ghost. So the Father, the Ghost, and maybe I thought about the Holy Son as being, if he dies, he would become like a martyr of this situation, of the illness. And so if he goes to heaven, he would, or if he dies, he would become, the Holy Son. And yeah, so maybe this is, a talk about the relationship he has with both his parents, maybe more intensely in the thick of the sickness with his mother, and then maybe more of a spiritual discussion with his father. And yeah, I think that could, be the case. So let's get back to it.
I'll converge to one, pain that twists you, the heavens dismiss you, the Father, the Ghost, and the Holy Son. Body bagging me, zip it up quick, get their things on B. I search for peace in the belly of a beast. Sick boy on a matter P.
I'm so sorry to stop all the time. So because this song is so good and the beat is so good, so I know this is going to to be really heart-wrenching for some of you, but so as I said, the point is to go deep into the lyrics. So he says, when he says, I search for peace in the belly of the beast, I think that's also another biblical reference there, because it's from the book of Jonah in the Old Testament. So Jonah is swallowed by a huge fish, and which often referred to as a whale. And he spends 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the fish. And it symbolizes a place of confinement and despair. And I think that's the reference he's doing here when he searches for peace in the belly of the beast. It's like he's been swallowed by this illness, by this huge fish, this huge whale that is the illness, and he's completely confined in this situation, and in his room he is confined, and so he's still trying to, you know, to find peace and to find meaning, even being in the belly of the beast. And so then he says, sick boy, onomatopoeia, which I thought was such an interesting and clever line. It's I think he would probably meant that, because an onomatopoeia, if we think about what it is, it's a type of word that phonetically imitates what it describes. So I don't know, like a clock would be tick-tock, or you know what an onomatopoeia is. So I think if we transpose this into his song saying sick boy, onomatopoeia, and here sick boy is written B-O-I, so that could also have the meaning of his song Sick Boy, and completely identifying who he is. And so it's like it's almost like he branded himself. And so if he is referring to himself as sick boy, and if all other people refer to him as sick boy, it's almost like it becomes the onomatopoeia that identifies him. And so it's, I think after putting out Ren and the Sick Boy album, it's to be taken literally, but yeah, it's like not only his brand, but who he is or who he has become. So yeah.
Twist you, the heavens dismiss you, the Father, the Ghost, and the Holy Son. Body bagging me. Zip it up quick, get their things on beat. I search for peace in the belly of a beast. Sick boy, onomatopoeia. Running up a fever, following a leader. Wanna be me, huh? Grass isn't greener. Bright lights, he's your dynamite dealer. Dine at the table of the coroner, eat top fuck.
It's so hard to stop. I just love this song so much, but... So he's talking about people who maybe would wish they were him, you know, maybe about, you know, talking about his fame, his, you know, achievements in music and as an artist, and it's not all rainbows. So maybe what he achieved is the goal for a lot of other people, but the pain he had and the suffering he had to go through to get there is really not, you know, to be taken lightly. And so the grass isn't greener just because it looks nice from afar. And yeah, he's walking hand in hand with death so much that he's now eating at the coroner's table, who's just waiting for him to be done.
Running up a fever, following a leader. Wanna be me, huh? Grass isn't greener. Bright lights, he's your dynamite dealer. Dine at the table of the coroner, eat top fuck. 13 years and I've been feeling so stuck. Lucky number 13, just my luck. Empires tumble, rubble and dust. The universe shrinks and the planets combust. In God we trust. God tied a noose to his neck and he walked to the edge and he jumped. Angels wept.
So... there's quite a lot to unpack there. So I think when he says "in God we trust," it's almost an ironic reference to the fact that even if the entire world is collapsing around us, people who have faith will, I would not blindly, but will completely trust that, you know, that is the will of their God, and even if everything is burning down around them. So I think he's being a little bit ironic there, because at the same time he is losing faith. So everybody is trusting in God except for him, because he saw God kill himself. So I think it's because he is, you know, trapped in this situation where he's in his room and he's in bed and he can't get out of that. He's lost faith to the point where he imagines even, you know, God killing himself and letting go of everything, because that would mean that God is not only abandoning him, but he's abandoning, you know, the universe and the angels. So it's really, you know, heavy symbol of completely losing faith at that time. And so he must have been in some type of existential crisis and questioning his beliefs so much. Yeah, so I think that this is probably the case for a lot of us who maybe have faith or had faith, or, you know, certain beliefs, that if you feel completely abandoned and completely lost and so isolated, you feel that there's nothing you can cling to and nothing you can believe in anymore, because whatever you do and whatever your beliefs are, you're just completely alone. I think that's how he's feeling there.
In God we trust. God tied a noose to his neck and he walked to the edge and he jumped. Angels wept, I bear witness, watching the whole thing unfold from my bed. A bed where I never deep rest, a bed where I'm always depressed, a bed with the human oppressed, a bed for a tomb where I slept, a bed in the room that's a womb for this mess. Sick boy bitten by a tick boy, tell me how it feels to be buried while you breathe. Stones and sticks boy, pain is a gift boy, hard to make a stand when you crawl on your knees and I kneel.
So we can see here, you know, a bed for a tomb where I sleep, a bed in the room that's a womb for this mess. It's the opposing ideas between, you know, he is lying in this tomb, and which is obviously the place you end up when you're dead, and then a bed in the room that's a womb for this mess. A womb is, you know, the place where you come to life. So that's another parallax, I think, here in the story, is that depending on how you perceive things, here it could be either a womb by, you know, a tomb, because he feels like he's dying in his room, but also it is a womb because it will birth, you know, the artist he is today. And yeah, so that's another parallax. So then there's the line about stones and sticks boy, pain is a gift boy. And I thought about that line so much because there are multiple meanings, but for me, it's either things that people have said to him, because I think when you're in an extreme situation and when you're in that much pain and suffering, most people wouldn't really know how to react. And so, you know, people try to be nice and hopeful and helpful, and they maybe will come up with some, you know, sayings and some things to try to make you feel better, which isn't really the case. Or on the other hand, you could also say those things to yourself to try to pick yourself up and to try to, you know, go on and get through things. So the first part, stones and sticks, is I think from the English nursery rhyme, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words cannot hurt me. And the idea that pain is a gift, I think pain and suffering can become a gift depending what you make of it, and if you are able with time to see it as a gift. But I don't know if that's the case for everyone, because in the thick of it, it's no gift at all. So it's you can make it a gift later, but when you're, you know, going through that suffering, it's just not a gift. So maybe he was also, you know, trying to pick himself up and trying to cling to something that was making all of this, worth it. And even though he wanted to speak and take a stand, he was just too weak at that point. So yeah, let's see where he goes with that.
Boy, pain is a gift, boy. Hard to make a stand when you crawl on your knees and I kneel. I kneel at the altar of my own disease and I beg this guy for mercy. Mercy never came, that did me dirty. 33 and hurting, cursing. Jesus died at 33 and still my sins are lurking. Gears are turning, future stays uncertain. Surgeon incision, murder ambition. Fear of the unknown preserves a religion. Denounced the gods when my body went missing.
So, I think that is in his story. That's like the point where it's been going on for so long that he doesn't have any solution, and he's talked about this many times, that it was just he was just trying to find out what was wrong with him, and no one came up with any solution, and he was misdiagnosed for different things. So he's just starting to lose hope, and he's getting angry also about the entire situation. This is the point where, the anger sets in, and he's starting to become a bit more aggressive and distraught. So I think there's some issue about self-harm too, and that he doesn't really know what to do with all of this anger. And so not knowing what his fate could be, there's still some faith left in him. He just doesn't know what those beliefs are anymore, because he feels so let down by everything. And so he said multiple times that he thought he wouldn't make it to 30, that in the thick of it he believed he would die before he was 30. So he made it to 30, and so there he is. He's 33. He's still alive. 33 being the age Christ was crucified. But he has this uncertainty of how long it's going to go on and how long he's going to, continue living. So he's maybe just clinging on to some faith because he still made it, further than he was imagining the whole time. But he can't dismiss everything, because something brought him to live it out and to get to that, to get further than the age he thought he was going to die. But there is still, this hope that is kind of gone, the hope that he's going to find a cure for his illness. And so how it's a question I ask myself too, is like, how often can you feel let down by your faith and your beliefs until there are none? Because every time that you feel really let down, I think it's just if there's one situation or one event that brings you a little bit of light and a little bit of hope, then you tend to cling to the smallest faith that is left, or the beliefs that you have, even if most of the situation is just bad. So maybe that would mean for him that if he made it that far, and that wasn't the plan, that he thought he was going to die, but he still made it over 30, then it could mean that maybe there is a higher power, or maybe there is some force doing that and helping him, hold on. So I think that's where he is at that point.
Incision, murder ambition. Fear of the unknown preserves a religion. Denounced the gods when my body went missing. Back then, the pain spray ricochet like a Mac 10. hand, hot lead hit the bed that was trapped in. Red wing seraphim out of God's grace, cried tears from heaven like Clapton. Stick pins in the voodoo Hendrix, thick skin, stay humble Kendrick. Stay skeptic, check the biometrics. Bloodstain, crime scene, forensic.
Ooh, that beat. So there's a scheme on bullets there. So spray bullets with a machine gun. Mac 10 is a semi-automatic machine gun. So you spray bullets with a machine gun, and like his pain is spraying for his body, and bullets ricochet, and so it's like the pain is being directed, you know, at him, at his bed, like he's being sprayed with bullets there. And red wing seraphim out of God's grace. So the seraphim, they are like the highest ranking angels in the angel hierarchy in Christianism. And so they're often depicted with red fiery wings. Seraph in Hebrew means burning. So their name is literally the burning ones. So that's why they always have these red wings. And they sometimes symbolize a mutation or the passage to a different state of being. So that could be the fact here that in this situation, Ren is transforming into, you know, an evolved version of himself, or, you know, he's starting to go into a different state of being. And on the other hand, seraphims, because they are the closest to God, one of their missions is to ensure the sanctity of God's presence is maintained. So maybe they symbolize this transformation he's going through, but maybe they also symbolize the fact that they are sent to Ren to maintain his faith and his and you know, try to root his belief system in. So yep. Then we go from Clapton to Hendrix to Kendrick. I think that's in one sense just you know, the artists Ren was listening to at the time, and but also there is this huge symbolism in each. So Cry Tears from Heaven, like Clapton, Tears in Heaven, the song Clapton wrote, was for his son who tragically died. So that could, you know, be also tied to Ren as a son maybe dying. And Stick Pins in a Voodoo Hendrix. So Voodoo Child or Voodoo Child, depending on which version you're listening to, is considered one of Hendrix's masterpieces. So the original version, I think, was 15 or 16 minutes long. It was a huge compilation of different songs, and in those lyrics he talks a lot about black magic and voodoo, and Ren has discussed this in interviews and in one of his life chapters, that at some point he felt so lost in regards to the medical industry and no one helping him, that he started to turn to more unorthodox methods to get a cure. And we know this song, and especially the music video, has had a huge influence on Ren, I think. So there are references of it in the Fisher retake. Well, for me, that's what I saw when he's riding the bike and when he's using the 360 handheld camera. In Slaughterhouse, also when he has the multiples of him, bobbing the heads to the beat and singing with him. I think that has to do with, some of that humble video influences. So it's also Kendrick's first #1 as a lead artist, as a solo. And in that song, he cautions about pride and greed and criticizes the arrogance that comes with fame and success. And so he throws a few punches at the music industry too. And so it's quite self-explanatory why Ren, loves that music so much. So let's go. Oh, and I think I stopped at the crime scene forensics. So that is obviously a double entendre for bloodstain crime scene forensics, as in forensics on a crime scene, but if you listen to it differently and as he is pronouncing it, it could also be bloodstain crime scene for Ren's sick. So yeah, nice little double entendre there.
Stay skeptic, check the biometrics. Bloodstain crime scene forensic. Lights on, lights out. Fade into the background. So down, running from the silhouette of self-doubt. By now, really should have figured this shit out. Lights on, lights out. Smack down.
So yeah, the lights on, lights out is, for me, I think, like, if you've been on this kind of journey with the medical industry, with mental health issues and the suffering, the lack of answers, it could you know, really make you go mad. So I think he's talking about hanging on to his hope and beliefs, although he's doubting himself a lot. And the lights on, lights out could be that, you know, sometimes his brain works and some other times he can't really think straight, because he's talked about that a lot too, that because of the meds and because of the psychosis, you know, he had really foggy brain sometimes and he really couldn't think. And but then also to knock someone's lights out is to be knocked out of consciousness in boxing. So I think, like, it's also every time he thinks he found a solution to his illness, like the disease just knocks him to the ground again. And every time he goes to a different lens and, you know, different doctors and other specialists, and every time he has his hopes up, and then it just knocks him back down again. So I think that's the situation there.
Should have figured this shit out. Lights on, lights out. Smack down. Let it be. Quote John Lennon. Click clack, John got shot for attention. What does that tell you about the good of intentions? Bitterness formed in a storm of aggression. Prophets get dropped, imagining heaven. Martin Luther, Mahatma, or dead. Just 6-6 followed by 6 and 7. Build them, praise them, bury them, dead.
Oh, such good lines there. So about, you know, John Lennon and those modern prophets, he's questioning the point of having you know, the great thinkers of our times dreaming up utopias and trying to shift society for the greater good, if all we do is just, you know, end up murdering them. Because he's talking about Lenin, Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, and they were all shot, they were all murdered. So he says that society builds them up to what they become. But the fact that we build up our own prophets and elevate them to a fantasized realm of truth before, you know, forgetting about them once they're gone, just doesn't make anything matter anymore, if that's what we're doing. It's also, you know, as if the louder your voice gets, if you have a stance that is contrary to the established system, it's the, you know, more likely that you are to be silenced. And is it enough to dream of a better world if we end up, you know, killing it off anyway? And so 666 being the number of the beast, followed by the 7, I think would be the 7 sins. So maybe that would mean that the devil is always lurking and that we can't escape our sins. It's just always in the background.
Just 6-6 followed by 6 and 7. Build them, praise them, bury them, dead. I was born to be half a man with half a chance. My heart isn't half righteous, half is damn and half a gram. Half those troubles and thoughts stay darker than a Rukai master plan. Sharper than glass shard, splinter and cinnamon. Irony could kill a man. He makes money when the music lands. Expand, pay me my cheese, rain down parmesan.
So this was really, it was one of my favorite parts of the song, just because I'm such a nerd, and I'm such a huge Lord of the Rings fan. So I don't know if anyone else thought of it that way, but I think there's really some double meaning even in the Lord of the Rings theme there. So I was I didn't really know what he meant about like the half a gram heart goes trouble's end. If it was maybe about taking drugs and taking drugs to numb the pain and the dark thoughts. So I don't know if that's maybe the case, but I was born to be half a man with half a chance. And then afterwards he says Thord stay darker than an Uruk-hai's master plan. So Uruk-hai are a breed of orc and men mixed together, but hobbits are also called halflings because they're half men in terms of the size. So I thought maybe there's a double meaning there in the fact that at first he is maybe only half a man, as in physically a little bit weaker, because we could maybe see hobbits as, because they're seemingly smaller than other species, they're maybe not as powerful or as strong. And so he could be half a man, like a halfling. But then also, if his thoughts stay darker than an Uruk-hai's master plan, he's maybe half a man because he's half orc, so he could be the Uruk-hai. And as we know, Uruk-hai are quite evil creatures that are bred in Mordor, so they're not very nice. So I thought maybe, yeah, that was this duality between hobbits and Uruk-hais. Then the wordplay with the half can also indicate that it's not, it's like opposing halves of the same thing all the time, because he's half righteous, half damned. So it's like acknowledging each part of ourselves. Again, the light and the dark always, play this massive role in Ren songs. And afterwards, when he talks about the music industry, pain makes money when the music lands expand. It would likely be the fact that if he signed up to a major label, then they would just try to bank on that suffering, as much as they can. And I think they would try to monetize, the suffering and the pain for their own gain and, gain of the music industry. And so those are kind of the expectations in the music industry, and the gain we can imagine artists are getting, and what cheese and parmesan, quite evident for money and drugs. And then in the line, Sinnerman, Sinnerman, irony could kill a man, I think he shouts out to the irony. We call out everyone's sins, but then we still perpetrate them too. So it's a little bit ironical how we go about, people sinning and not always recognizing our own sins.
Followed by seven whole sins for a self-made Armageddon. Sin 1, pride. Pride makes a man kill a man for his ego to survive. Sin 2, lust makes the grass look greener, crucifies trust. Sin 3, gluttony. Humans consume and consume, planet Earth gets a frontal lobotomy. 4, sloth, rinse and repeat, reruns, repeat, time lost. Sin 5, envy. That's when one man's win is another man's frenzy. Sin 6, wrath, rage, vengeance, killers, psychopath. Sin 7, greed. Greed plants a seed that will destroy us all if we succumb to greed. If we take what we need and take more than we need, then our oceans will bleed. Still we feed and we feed and we sleep.
Well, so we have the 7 sins here that are interpreted by Ren, and the consequences they carry. I think he applies all of this of those meanings more to mankind than to individuals, and he highlights the bad traits he sees in the industry and politics, and and corporations, how our consumption is reshaping the planet, and how it's also reshaping our interactions. He has denounced consumption and greed many times throughout his songs, as in Sick Boy and All of the Money Ties, and he often refers back to that. He also gives the metaphor of giving the planet a frontal lobotomy. So the procedure consists of severing connections in the prefrontal cortex in the brain, and that region is implicated in executive functions and like planning, decision making, memory, personality expression, and controlling certain aspects of speech and language. So he's talking about how our actions are completely raiding the planet of from any resources and any capacity to regenerate. So greed is probably one of the sins from whom the others originate, if we take this as a starting point and as a focal point that Ren has in some of his songs. He says that we take more than we need and our oceans will bleed. I think he's referring to the overfishing situation that we're facing right now, and it can be applied to the land too, and how we consume everything, and in a massive way, and too much, and that we're just bleeding the earth of everything. Yeah, let's get back to it, and soon we'll be at the end of the song.
Greed plants a seed that will destroy us all if we succumb to greed. If we take what we need and take more than we need, then our oceans will bleed. Still we feed and we sleep and repeat. Then we exile the shepherds and follow the sheep. We inherit the meat, we inherit this world that we bruise and we beat. We inherit this vanity, circles of creeds. Inherit the liars, the murderous thieves. One sin for every one day of the week.
This song is so good. Exile the shepherds and follow the sheep. It goes back to the true leaders who could help build a better world, but are silenced and banned from society. So in that aspect, it's almost as if we, because shepherds are supposed to lead the flock, and if we ban the shepherds or exile the shepherds, then maybe we would just be left to the mercy of the wolves. So I think that's the inference there. And the world goes on with vanity, ideological beliefs that don't serve the greater good. And when he talks about what we inherit, it's as if he's saying that from one generation to the next, there is no fundamental change, and that we just continue pursuing the same things we did before, and that there have been people that have been willing to shake the established system, but the moral decay and the corruption is still passed down. So in the last verse, you can also find some meaning, find the 7 sins again. If we take more than we need, our oceans will be, that would be greed and envy, and we feed and we sleep and repeat. Maybe that's gluttony. Exile the shepherds, follow the sheep. That would maybe be, sloth, because we just follow the herd. And if we inherit vanity and the circles of creeds, that would be the lust and pride maybe. And the liars and the murderous thieves are the wrath. So I think we can, find the 7 sins there again. He also refers to the same issues in Sick Boy when he says, rape the earth of all resources, and we bleed it for gold, we bleed it for wealth, bleed it for fame, but when you bleed it, can you tell me what the fuck will remain? So that is exactly the same idea of just continuously just bleeding all of our planet of all its resources. So I think he's always using this perspective change in many of his songs, from the internal to the external, or from the unique to the general point of view, and from the individual to mankind, as he does in Sick Boy and High Ren too. It's one of the traits in his writing, which allows, you know, everyone to relate to it, because even if some wouldn't relate to the personal point of view that he has or that he expresses, then almost everyone can relate to the general aspect of mankind and of what we are doing in our societies right now. When he says that there is one sin for every one day of the week, I think there is, it just means that there is no single day in the week that can be clean of any sin, because humanity is, humans are inherently flawed with sin. And so it goes back to the biblical and theological references. And if you don't know, there were actually 8 sins in the beginning. So this was written by a monk in the 4th century, and it was boiled down to 7 sins by Pope Gregory I in the 6th century, because 7 is a very symbolic number in Christianity. There are the 7 days of the week that come from the book of Genesis, even if the idea of the 7 days in the week actually come from the Babylonian culture, and so it's deeply rooted in Christian belief that 7 is a number related to God, and to faith. And so I think that he's saying if a man is tied to his faith and to the dogmas, he can never really escape anything and change things, because he would not be willing to break the system and to decide of a completely different way of doing things, which doesn't mean rejecting any religions or any beliefs, but more so creating something new out of everything good and functional that we already have. So I think it's the same with politics too, and that if we just decide to find every part of every belief system that exists that is working and that is the best for our planet, for our species, for our interactions as humans, then maybe we could, you know, build something great out of all of those ideas. So thank you for watching. If you have made it to the end of this very, very long video, I'm really grateful that you've watched, and I hope it's been interesting, and I hope you have you know, some things you maybe want to add. So please leave a comment if I've missed anything. I know I haven't. I already thought that it was quite a lot, so I left it at that. I know there are some lyrics I didn't go into. I think there are some that are just self-explanatory, that don't have any other meaning behind them, so I didn't go into that. But if I missed anything or I left anything out, just please tell me and leave a comment. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and tell me if you want to see anything else from me, if you want me to analyze any other song, any other lyrics. And I, you know, hope to see you soon, and many thanks to all of you. Bye. Mwah.